Today we're going to take a little trip down memory lane and we're going to look at a writing platform that I used to use as a teenager. So back in 2010, if you were a teen writer, you were most likely on Inkpop. Inkpop was a website that HarperCollins had created with the idea that you would post your stories, people would rate them, they would give you reviews, and if your story was one of the top 5 of the month, then you would get a review from a HarperCollins editor, and you could potentially also be published by HarperCollins. When I first joined, that was the main attraction to it, but the more that I used it, my stories never really made it past like top 100, but I still loved the experience. I loved reading so many cool stories and meeting so many people, and it was just honestly the best time of my life. It was honestly so fun. Everything I learned about reviewing books, I learned by writing reviews on Inkpop, but unfortunately Inkpop eventually folded. I think it was in 2014 or 2015. Basically, I think what happened was one of the books that they had discovered on Inkpop was published and it did poorly, and I think that there was a bit of drama because the author was responding to negative reviews or something along those lines. Good thing that doesn't happen anymore. Yeah, it was just a big mess, and HarperCollins was like, okay, bye guys, see you never. Most people on Inkpop, I don't know what happened to them because I never found them on Twitter. I wasn't even on Twitter in 2014, I don't think. If I was, I wasn't using it. There's only a few people from Inkpop that I'm still in contact with. For the most part, everyone vanished from the internet. Inkpop was bought by Figment, which was another writing website, but then Figment also went down and they basically just deleted everything, so that's unfortunate. There were some stories on Inkpop though that I still think about to this day that still haunt me in so many ways because I never knew what happened to the characters and also to the writer. So I want to talk about a few books that really piqued my interest that were on Inkpop that I have no idea what happened to them. If anybody is watching this who was on Inkpop and knows anything about these books, please let me know. Also tell me what your favorite books were on Inkpop. Let's have a little Inkpop morning celebration again. The first book I want to talk about, I actually found out that it was published, which is super exciting, and I definitely plan on reading it. And this book was called Andy Squared. It was written by Jennifer Lavoie. I can't remember what her username was on the website, but it wasn't her name, it was something else. So I went on Google and I was searching Andy Squared. I was gonna write Inkpop at the end and see if something popped up, but then I found the Goodreads page for Andy Squared, the book, the published book, and I was like, oh my god. So of course, definitely gonna read it at some point. Andy Squared was a YA contemporary. It's about two twins. They were named Andrew and Andrea, at least on Inkpop, which is kind of weird when I think about it now, but you know, when I was 15 reading this story, I was like, Andrew and Andrea? Yeah, makes perfect sense. So they were twins, best friends. Then this new kid comes to town and he and Andy become friends, and then romance and drama. I remember gobbling that story up. It was just so addictive and so fun to read. I'm glad that it got published because I want to read it. I want to see what she changed. There's so much about the original story that I still remember to this day. I think I must have read it more than once, or I just have a freaky memory. Either one would not surprise me. I'm really happy to see that it actually did get published, and I'm going to leave a link to the Goodreads page in the description. The next book, I have no idea what happened to it. I also Googled this title plus Inkpop, and I found the Inkpop blog. So the Inkpop blog is still around even though the website is not. But this story was called Stake My Heart. It was a vampire story. The username of the author was Jennii with 2 eyes, and I freaking love this story. I only read the first 6 chapters because at the time she only had 6 chapters on the website, and I don't know if she ever published the complete story. It was about this girl who goes to this concert for a band called Stake My Heart, and while there, they're attacked by vampires, and then she discovers that the band are all vampire hunters. Oh, like that is the stuff of dreams for a 15-year-old girl. Oh my god, I loved it. And I have no idea what happened to it. I don't know if it's there somewhere in the universe under a different name. If anybody knows, please let me know because I freaking loved this story. It was so cool, and I only read the first 6 chapters and I want to know what happens. Still! Come on! The next book I want to talk about was called Rosewood by Evie J. Evie J in general had so many cool ideas on Inkpop. I remember that a number of her books made it to the top 5 different months. She was just a really good writer, and Rosewood was an interesting story. It was about a boarding school, and there was some supernatural sci-fi stuff that was going on, and I think the premise was that no one could leave the boarding school because the forest was all like weird. And unfortunately, I don't know what happened to this author. I don't know what happened to this book. I would honestly read anything that she wrote though, because her writing was just so beautiful, and I remember feeling really inspired while reading her stories. So I hope that she's out there somewhere writing her books. Maybe this book is published under a different title. If you know, let me know. You know the drill. Finally, the last book that I read on Inkpop that left a lasting impression on me was called Transparent, I think. The username for the author at one point was Isaac Kelly, but I don't know if that was their name or just their username or their pen name. But it was about a boy who was abused by, I think, his stepbrother or cousin. It was a really sad story, and it was really dark, but it was about the boy. Well, he was in this bad situation, and then eventually he gets out of it and he starts to heal, and it was just like a very intense, touching story. It had me hooked. I read the whole thing in like a day and a half, and it did make it to top 5, and I think the review from HarperCollins was basically like, yeah, this is a good story, but it's too depressing or something. What do you expect from a story about abuse? It's not gonna be a joke fest. It's not gonna be a fun time, but it was a really good read, and I just don't know what happened to it. There was another writing website that was around for a little bit after Inkpop that Inkpop users had created themselves, and Isaac Kelly was on that website, and it sounded like he was intending on self-publishing, but I don't know if that's still happening because I haven't heard anything about it since, but I really liked that story as well. So anyway, those were 4 stories from Inkpop that I still remember pretty vividly. If you guys were on Inkpop, let me know what some of your favorite stories were. It's more than likely that I read them because I was literally on Inkpop for hours every day just reading people's stuff. I just miss it sometimes. Even now, I just feel like nothing compares to what it was like back then. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!